All right, we're live, back on it with the Southern Classics podcast, and still don't have a name for it if y'all were wondering, but we're hopefully gonna figure something out. But right now, today we got a little on the schedule. We got talking about a little bit of our, hunting stories, I guess what you would say.
Yeah, we're going to kind of recap how turkey season has gone so far and then give you guys some of our best and worst hunting stories. I feel like it'd be pretty interesting.
Yeah, but so dang, this chair is really squeaky. But all right, so Hayden, get us started.
Well, we've had a very interesting turkey season, to say the least, and I've already learned a couple of lessons, but I think in the last video we talked a lot about our first opening weekend and how it was very exciting, intensity, action-packed.
Oh yeah,
and then
definitely
to go from that to our most recent weekend
was not a good weekend.
No, not
It
at
was
all.
the complete opposite.
Yeah,
It might have been worse than the opposite.
it was one. It was just very dull. I mean, nothing happened. We didn't get any.
We woke up that morning. Hunt. Knowing we couldn't hunt the spot where we had a gobbler.
We couldn't hunt the bird we wanted to.
But to top that all off, didn't hear a gobble the whole morning.
We have a bunch of land
probably like
that
5
we
or 6
hunt,
different spots.
And I mean, out of probably what all that combined, it's got to be like
400 or 500 acres, maybe
easily.
600 acres.
And to not get a gobble off all that was just.
And we kind of defeated. Start rolling back into the driveway.
Yeah, and
roll into his grandmother's driveway, and
she is killed. She's killed the bird that we had at 75 yards up in the weekend.
Yeah, and when I tell you he was a hoss.
Oh man,
he was a hoss, man.
He 11-inch beard.
He had like a 10 or 11-inch beard, inch and a quarter spurs. I mean, he was big.
He was big. But one thing I had to learn from it was sometimes it's better to be. You can't be selfish. I think, and I felt pretty convicted. I felt like the Lord was convicting me, and
yeah, it was really humbling.
Yeah, because it's not about me. It's not Hayden's world of hunting.
Yeah, and we were getting out of the truck, and me and him just looked at each other, just saying, "Man, this is hard. This is hard." But we were like, "But we got to be happy." I mean,
well, I was, and
that's what I'm saying. I mean, we were really happy for her because that was her first turkey, and but what we didn't know is they hunted it the weekend we weren't there, and had it closer than that, had it probably 10, 20 yards, couldn't get a shot on it.
Yeah.
So
sometimes you don't always know the whole story.
She definitely worked for that bird.
Yeah.
Worked harder than we did. So, I was super happy for her. Just seeing the excitement on her face.
Hopefully we do get a bird because we have some footage of her and that I'm going to cherish for a long time. Getting me and her and my grandfather in it, but it sucked. But then again, you look back at it and it's like it's not that big of a deal at all.
It ain't the end of the world.
I enjoyed at least getting to spend the time with her, taking pictures with her and getting to see her kill her first turkey or getting to see the turkey.
I mean, have you had anything like that?
Yeah, I've been on both sides, and man, I've always been super competitive at whatever I do.
That's where I get it from.
If I'm gonna do it, I don't care if it's Monopoly or
you want to be the best.
Darts. I mean, I want to win. If I go fishing, I want to catch the most. I want to catch the biggest. And the one that humbles me is I was hunting with a guy and was hunting in some land in Alabama, and he had we were sitting around camp, and guy had the property across the street. We were just sitting around camp, and he said, well, if somebody wants to hunt this stand right there on the road, you're welcome to do it. And this guy said, sure, I'll go hunt it. And so he went over there and killed about a 130 class 9-pointer.
Wow.
Fine deer.
Dang.
And so he's that kind of guy that could catch an 8-pound in a mud hole. So then season rocks on. In Alabama, a lot of places, Alabama rut comes in late. Matter of fact, they've just, changed their seasons the last couple of years to go up into February. There's times we hunted there, rut didn't even come in before the season went out.
Okay.
But so the rut was starting, and we were talking about where we were going to go. I hadn't seen anything. I mean, it was just.
When was this?
It's been years ago, and it's been probably 25 years ago. So we got talking about where to go, and there's this kind of a standard box stand, really nice, right on a pipeline. And pipeline's even better than power lines because there's no poles. I mean, it's just wide open.
Yeah.
And so this was kind of a standard. You're going to see deer there. But chances are you're not going to see, something
Nothing
big because
crazy.
it's wide open.
Yeah.
And so there's this other place that is kind of a honey hole for, you're not going to see as many deer, but you're going to see quality deer.
Yes,
Long story short, the guy says, look, you go get in that good stand. That's where the buck's going to be. And I'll take the other stand. I said, you should. He said, yeah. He goes over there, kills another 9-pointer, chasing the deer.
Wow.
And I don't know that I even killed a buck that year. And man, I was so mad. And the older I've gotten, I can't say that I learned the lesson that day. It's just been over the years that I realized, dude, why am I getting tore up about this? And, there's always next year. If not, we'll be in glory. So I've learned to really appreciate and enjoy the victories of other people.
Yeah.
Yeah.
So
that's something we talked about last episode.
Something I was thinking about when he was saying that is, and I'm not saying that you did or didn't, but I mean, you've hunted a long time. And then when I don't believe it. I don't believe in luck at all, but I got blessed. I mean, I guess I've never thought about it until now, but like, you probably were some type of way. I mean, honestly,
I'm not gonna lie. I was really jealous.
Yeah,
but I wasn't gonna let that get the best of me or get in between our friendship. Yeah. I was just as much happy, if not more happy, than I was jealous.
Yeah,
because the jealousy was just for like a second. It was like, dang, that would have been awesome to kill. Yeah. But then I'm like, but he killed it. That's awesome because I just knew that. One, I was really happy because that was your first real year of getting into it, and that was an awesome first year. But I was worried, and I told you, I said, Hayden, this hardly ever happens. Don't get your hopes up next year.
Yeah,
and guess what happened?
You're right. Yeah.
Guess what happened this past year?
Got shut out big time. Exactly. But then on the flip side, just talking about enjoying other people's. I mean, at the end of that year, to get to film you kill that deer.
Exactly. Yeah.
But then this year, when actually
this year was really
a nice
cool.
buck, that was cool.
Yeah.
Well, the difference I think for me is, I pastor a church, and so it's 24/7. I try to slide off and go hunting when I can, go fishing. Great church, but people are not born. People don't die between 8 and 5 Monday through Friday. So if I have to work over on weekends and put in a lot of hours, I got a great supportive church, and Tuesday morning I'll slip off and go hunting, or Thursday afternoon I'll go fishing.
Yeah.
You learn to enjoy. The average hunter, the average fisherman, do not have $3,000 rifles and unbelievable optics. They're going to the regular box stores and doing what they can. They work hard. Most of them can't afford even big expensive hunting clubs.
Yeah, and that's something that I don't want to cut you off, but that's something that I want us to touch on maybe in another episode. Is hunting on a budget
and hunting on public land. There's a great field there, but it's very intimidating. I mean, we're 8 miles from Fort Stewart, one of the 5 largest military bases in the United States. Well, you can hunt on it.
Yep.
Not all of it, but there's a lot of it. A friend of mine last year lives in North Carolina, came down for his family and went over there, did the paperwork online, did the stuff, went over there, and his wife missed a nice 8, and he killed a really nice 8.
Yeah.
So
And
the point is that most people's never going to kill 130, 140 class.
No.
If they kill 100, 110, I think that we've lost focus even by just talking about, well, that's 100 class, so that's 120. It's an 8 point.
Yeah.
You know, that's you succeeded. That's a 4 point that somebody, and I agree with trying to manage the land, you get bigger deer.
Trying to kill mature
don't
deer.
go out there and just kill but it's different when you're a parent.
When you ain't got many choices.
Well, when you're a parent and you don't have much time, you don't have a lot of land to choose from.
Yep.
You're hunting a little 60-acre block that's surrounded by 60-acre blocks, and everybody hunts on all of it.
Mm-hmm.
And if it's brown, it's down, and you know all these people, and they do that.
Mm-hmm.
So, I killed this really nice 6.5-year-old 6 point this year. I'm thrilled to death with it.
Yeah.
I mean, 17-inch spread.
Yeah, it was awesome.
But I hunted that land for 8 years. Let a really nice 7-pointer walk several times.
Yeah. Well,
we had nice bucks on camera, and we found them right there on the road, got hit by a car.
Yep.
Another one got hit by a car, dead in a pond.
Shady.
Just all kinds of crazy stuff. So
that was wild.
If anybody's listening, dude, don't feel like you're second class or third class hunter because you don't catch the 8-pound basses every time you go.
And you didn't kill 130-inch deer. I mean, you got to be just as happy with the work you put in.
My first deer was a doe. I felt like it was snipe hunting. They talked about deer. Well, I never, I went several times. Nothing. Absolutely nothing. And then when those 2 does come out, I was like, oh, wow. And I shot one
real.
and killed it. And, man, just absolutely beside myself. Well, I had to have it mounted. So
it's up in the attic.
So I've got a doe mounted. Well, y'all are even laughing, and y'all are making my point. So I was so thrilled that I killed a deer.
Mm-hmm.
And my dad didn't hunt. We've talked about that. So my mom and dad had it mounted for me. And so I was just unbelievably happy. And that lasted probably for a couple of years until people said, "You got a doe mounted?"
Mm-hmm.
I said, "Yeah, it's my first deer."
That's what when we first walked in the attic and Hayden saw it, that's exactly what he said. He said, "Who mounted a doe?" But you gotta know the backstory.
That's where everything in hunting started for me.
Yeah.
And so there was a long period where I was ashamed of it. I'd hide it. I even thought about, some good deer I'd killed, having the rack put on that.
Mm-hmm.
That was fake. That's fraudulent. Well, that's the way our real life is. Don't ever let anybody steal your joy.
Yeah.
Whether it's in hunting, fishing, job, relationships, whatever it is. Don't let anybody steal your joy. And so I'm proud of that doe. I'm proud because that uncle that took me, I killed that deer in like 1978, 1979. Mm-hmm. He died of cancer in 1986.
Oh.
So, I can't see him anymore, but that's a connection that we have that he took me. And I remember that I went back years later to that same piece of property, and it was like nothing. I mean, it was like small. It was like the other side of the world to get in that old Scout 4-wheel drive that rode like a 4-horse wagon and drive to deer camp and sleep in a camper and have a fire and go sit in a homemade deer stand. Man, that was just the greatest thing in the world. Yeah. Well, that doe now represents every bit of that.
Yeah.
Growing up and shooting it with my very first rifle. And so.
Yeah, and I think that most people's first deer is a doe. Mine was a doe. I killed a bunch of does before I even killed a buck.
People get all tore up about that stuff. Listen, they eat really good. And if we don't kill them, it's just like, I'm all about catch and release. Went fishing today, threw them all back. A lot of it's got to do with laziness. Let's be honest.
Don't want to clean them.
But, if our current government keeps things up, we're going to be keeping a lot more fish.
Yeah, well, and that's the thing that I'll be dead set on killing a doe. And right when everyone walks out for me to kill, I'm like, dang, do I want to clean this?
Yeah.
That thought always goes through my mind. And usually it's
there's a little bit of selfishness in that, but if you don't keep those what we call dinks, the 1 pound bass, they're all going to be 1 pound bass. Yeah. You got to cull it just like culling a deer herd.
Yep.
You've got to thin those does out. I know people have never shot a doe, so you've got to do that stuff.
Well, killing does is really a big part of doe management, deer management, just thinning them out. But so we're gonna switch up. So, what is one of y'all's worst hunting experiences?
Worst?
Yeah, worst. I mean, my worst hunting experience. I got like a few, but this one's probably just the one I guess you'd say most memorable. Is me and you were sitting in a tree stand. I don't know why we were hunting together. I guess it was late season, maybe.
I remember why we were hunting together.
Is that because I forgot my?
Yeah, you can start from there and then worst hunting experience.
Yeah, well, but this time we were sitting together. His sun had probably just went down. Probably had 15 to 20 minutes left of light. So we were sitting there, and a doe walks out. Hadn't seen nothing the whole time. A doe walks out in front of us
the entire year.
Yeah, and a doe walks out in front of us, and the main thing was we didn't want to spook her, even though if we weren't going to shoot her, didn't want to spook her. Wanted her to just kind of go off on her own.
Yeah.
And just as it got dark, hopefully she would just walk off. Well, then I don't know what it was. It was like somebody flipped a switch or whatever, or we had just stuck our head in a beehive full of mosquitoes, but they just started swarming us.
That's terrible.
Oh my gosh, it was absolutely terrible.
I thought we were getting attacked.
Oh, and they were going in your ears, up your nose, in your mouth, in your eyes. I was just sitting there swatting back and forth trying to get out, and we had a thermocell going.
Yeah, it wasn't working.
Had bug spray, had everything going, and it was just like, I don't know.
It was terrible.
It was like a bull. They were bulls, and we were wearing all red. It was bad.
Yeah, you guys me.
It was. Oh yeah, I hate that feeling, man. It was bad, and we were like, well, that deer's gonna run. Screw it, we're getting out of here. We got out of there as fast as we could.
Well, that hunt from the beginning was messed up because Ethan left that was bow season.
Yeah, it was bow season. I left my drawstring for my crossbow,
and we tried.
I tried to
everything to get that
MacGyver some stuff to work. Use ratchet straps, everything. Nothing would do it, man. Everything just kept breaking or messing up.
I'm surprised we didn't break the crossbow.
Yeah, I'm surprised I didn't break my crossbow.
But it seems like every time we hunt together, something
bad happens.
Not bad, but one of my worst hunting experiences was with Ethan, and it's kind of ironic because it's when he killed his buck in that video, and something that you guys don't see is that I don't know, you can tell that it was raining in the video. Yeah, it was like 30 degrees. It was freezing cold,
freezing with the wind blowing.
It was like sleeting rain. Mm-hmm. It was nasty.
Yeah, it was bad.
And so we were packed down. I was actually pretty warm.
Yeah, I was pretty good the whole time. We were sitting in a blind,
just packed down with the clothes and different stuff on. And he shoots the buck. Everything happens. All that adrenaline's running.
Mm-hmm.
Well, then we have to go and we have to
gotta drag it out.
Drag it back.
It wasn't a small deer.
No,
it was a big body deer.
Not at all. Probably
it was probably 180 pounds to 200 pounds easily.
We're having to drag it 250 yards.
No, yeah.
And part of me was like, it's cold. So I'm not going to take anything off. Mm-hmm. I'm just going to keep on everything I have. And I don't know why I did that, but dragging that deer 200 yards, and
then loading it in the truck. Golly.
I almost like threw up. It was like I just something like you said a minute ago, suffocate. I almost got suffocated. Yeah, and like my sweat and like heat. Yeah. It was like that. And
I was frantic trying to get the camera gear. Didn't want to get wet. Trying to take pictures.
Well, just not even me almost getting sick.
It was just like in a rush.
Trying to film you afterwards, and we had to get out and get our gloves.
Yeah, you didn't have gloves on.
Hands. I can remember my hands felt like they were about to fall off.
I remember that.
It was
it was a great day, but it was a rough day.
Yeah, we worked for it though.
No, yeah, it was definitely worth it.
What about you, Rodney?
What you got?
I think you'd have to give me very specific categories. One I think of was flew to Colorado, to go mule deer and elk hunting. And let's just say the guy who set the trip up stuck it to us. And we just need to save that on how to plan for out-of-state hunts.
Yeah.
I'm going to save that one for another time. The absolute worst experience, I'm going to save for a scary hunt. One that keeps coming to my mind now, y'all just don't understand. I grew up in a generation without Gore-Tex, without Fensolate. Hunting boots were work boots. They were not insulated.
Yeah.
I mean, unless you had big money, you bought Browning. I remember the first pair of those green Brownings, man. I thought I was the dude.
Hit the jackpot.
But I can remember one winter it was like 9 degrees, and my feet got so cold. I had a thermos out of a school lunchbox I'd had when I was a kid, and I had coffee in that thermos, and I poured it over my boots because I thought my feet were frostbit. But the worst deal was hunting in a club in Talbot County, Georgia, and one or two had been seen and one had been killed over the years, but they'd talked about some piebald deer. And just one pretty morning, I'm sitting there in the stand, and here come one. And it come up right beside me, come right across in front of me. Took my time, made everything absolutely perfect. I wanted to make it just right. Standing in the open where I didn't think any limbs could cut the bull.
Was it a buck?
No, it was a doe.
But still, that's cool.
That's my dream, is to kill a piebald.
Well, the cool thing, and I've seen several since, but too far to shoot. But this one's like 20 yards, 30 yards. Shooting a 243, good old Remington 742 automatic. Man, I'd stack them up like cordwood. That thing was money. But I clearly remember, if you ever seen the targets, like a deer target, a paper target, and it has, the deer in
the vitals
in like one color, and then the vitals. Yeah. Well, the whole vitals was a white spot. And the only thing I can figure is that I didn't truly aim. I aimed at the deer, but I was looking at the deer. I'm a 2-eye shooter. I don't close an eye. I've trained to shoot with both eyes open, but I think I looked at the deer instead of looking through the scope.
And that's how a bunch of snipers shoot.
And then with the way the vitals were, just missed it. I'd rather miss it. Yeah, I'd rather miss it than to found blood and not find it.
Talked about that.
So that one haunts me because that one would be full body mounted in here.
Oh, that'd be awesome.
Yeah, I mean. That was pretty bad.
Okay.
Well, he took that a different we took.
Yeah.
Took that a different way.
I mean, mine. Okay, something to go off of that was first buck I had ever seen walk out in front of me, and I called both of y'all right after.
Oh yeah,
it was last year or the year before last, and I'm sitting there in the stand, and I was hunting with my AR, which was stupid, but I had done something to my AR, and the scope wasn't on. The scope was off probably 8 inches. It was probably 8 inches low. Nice, probably 120-inch 8-point walks out in front of me, probably 50, 60 yards maybe. No, I don't know, maybe 75 yards. I put it on him and I shoot. It looks like he drew up and everything looked like I smoked him. That's exactly what I said to both of y'all. I said I just smoked an 8-point. We go out there and look for hours, man. Not a drop of blood.
Shoot the gun, it ain't even in the same ballpark. It's so scoped so far.
Yeah, it was so
and
bad.
The same year is when I get out of the stand and I walk around the corner and there's a nice shooter 8 standing there 40 yards from me. I shoot it, not a drop of blood, nothing. We look for hours.
Are you sure you hit it?
And I hit it.
But needless to say, we're never hunting with a 5.56
the point was
223
I've killed plenty of deer with it. Point is, I grabbed the wrong clip.
FMJs.
And I had FMJs and did not have expanding tips.
I mean, it probably put a hole in it like
needle size straight through. That buck's still walking around.
Yeah, that buck's fine. But moving on, so I get let's do best. Yeah, let's go opposite. Best hunting story.
Mine's pretty easy.
I know what yours is.
Well, I mean, I can I mean, of course,
that's
the two biggest bucks I've ever killed. Well, the one, Pretty Boy, he was more of, and I won't go into detail about him as much because I'm gonna talk about Hercules, but Pretty Boy was more of the best because that was the most perfect hunt I've ever had. I mean,
everything went right.
Everything went perfect. Yeah. So that's just kind of how that happened. But then Hercules, man, a deer that, I mean, I think that started the reason that was so good was because, I mean, I just was not expecting it to happen. It was like you go and check an SD card and you're like, I'm please God,
that is
deer.
When the bucks are gonna walk out, because that's how we were whenever I killed my buck. Was we were like ready to go and we weren't paying attention. We were over it.
Oh well, yeah.
And then walks out.
Well, I'm talking about like 3 weeks before. I'm like, God, just let there be deer behind the house, you know, like, and then your third picture is a 10-point buck. Mm-hmm. But I'm sitting there, and I can remember vividly. I'm sitting there in the blind, 223, and I'm talking to K-Rod about offers. We're just talking about offers and where we're going to school, and I'm laying slouched back, about to go to sleep, and I look up, and I get goosebumps thinking about
buck fever.
Oh my goodness, his rack just looking dead at me around the tree.
Yeah.
Beautiful 10-point. If you guys haven't seen,
it's on our Instagram. Southern Classics.
But it's crazy to say. You know, I played in a lot of football games and baseball games, and I can truly say there was times I was nervous.
Yeah,
I was not. I was so dead focused,
anxious.
I was. No. Yes, I wanted him on the ground. So bad.
You wanted to be over.
But it happened in 30 seconds.
That's what I'm saying.
I can remember it happened so quick.
But that's where I got to tell myself, slow down. Yeah. Take your time. Because that's what happened whenever I missed that buck, which I think I would have missed it either way, but I was rushing it, man.
But the thing I can't believe is that I dropped him
shot him in the neck
with a 223,
and I'm 90% sure you were shooting FMJs like he was when he shot that deer. Didn't get anything.
Were you aiming at the neck?
No.
I was aiming.
I mean, you didn't shoot him directly. It was a little.
It was a good shot. Shoulder. I mean, I was aiming shoulder.
It was a good shot. It dropped.
Sometimes, it's like it goes against the laws of nature. You can plan and do everything right, and it's just a comedy of errors, and, and then it works. Yep. So,
But the best thing about this, though, was I've never had a feeling like I did. One, after I killed him, but getting to call everybody. Mm-hmm. I mean, that was getting to call you.
I remember getting to show up, man. And Hayden didn't even drag him out. Me and another guy dragged him out. A guy with a broken arm and me was dragging him out. Landon had a cast on. He was dragging it out, and Hayden was just
forgot all about that. But just that feeling of being that excitement. And
so what's yours?
Mine's obviously one of them is probably shooting my first doe with you and doing all that and spending that time with you. I think that was awesome. But just being able to put my first mature buck on the ground, and after everything we had went through that season,
2 seasons for you.
2 seasons.
Building up.
It was just a great feeling. I mean, it's just like a feeling of like, I don't know, accomplishment. I feel like all the work you had put in was actually worth something.
And I don't mean
good came out of it.
That feeling is worth every single penny you spend.
Every early morning. Every 2-hour night sleep.
Every second of time that you spend. I mean, it's
every
worth
cold
it.
morning, every hot afternoon. We were sitting in a blind and it's 90 degrees and you're taking layers off, taking pants off, making them shorts and everything's sweating.
Yeah,
it was all worth it. So yeah, that was awesome.
my first one I mentioned earlier. Everything builds on it. The bucks, and then becoming a parent. Y'all killing y'all's first deer, you and Emily both. And being able to kind of guide that, teach you gun safety and go through everything, shooting guns, get you a gun.
Yeah.
And both of you just seeing the nerves. And then yours ran for a while.
Yeah.
And so we kept looking and then boom, there she was. And just seeing the joy. And, I love when those pictures pop up on Facebook.
Yeah.
And then my most sentimental, I guess, would be biggest deer I ever killed. I took Emily because they said, hey, there's this pretty good buck coming out. Get her a buck.
Emily's my sister, by the way. Y'all know.
And so just like clockwork, the decent 6-point walks out. And as soon as he walks out, we're in a box stand.
Nicest box stand I've ever been in.
So no, this is a different place. No.
Oh, okay.
So this butt walks out. Well, as soon as he walks out, they know where they're at. So he walks out and he looks straight up at us.
Yeah.
And walks the whole time, stopping and looking at us. So we can't move. And I'm trying to cock the hammer back for her and tell her to breathe and all this stuff while he's all looking. And so he got his head right in the wood line. He walked right across in front of us to the left, going to the left. Had Emily on this side. She had a little Youth Model 243, single shot, cocked the hammer back. I said, all right, take your breath. When you breathe out, pull the trigger. And as she started taking her breath in, he took one step and he's gone. That quick, he's gone. And Emily's like, it's no problem, don't worry about it. And she was talking me off the ledge. And I said, I'm so sorry. So I waited about 10, 15 minutes. I started blowing a grunt. I said, maybe I can grunt him back out here. And I'm looking this way, and trying to look close. And all of a sudden, Emily taps me, and I said, be quiet now. I'm trying to call. She said, Daddy. She kept telling, and I said, what? She said, there's one way down the power line.
Mm-hmm.
And I looked, and it was Big Boy standing right in the middle, 215 yards.
Mm.
And
I've got to be some pressure, though.
Dude.
Mm.
And I'll never forget. So it was on my side, and of course, I take all the comments, don't care. She wasn't going to shoot that deer with no 243 from that distance.
No. And it wasn't going to be that very accurate with a barrel.
At 10 years old, I was shooting a 300.
Yeah.
And with good Burris optics. And so I turn and I get set up, and I'll never forget, it didn't have like a 2x4 rail. It just had plywood nailed to the end. OSB 7/16 plywood. And when I laid my hand up, it was like every splinter went in my hand. I'm trying to hold the gun still. And I will never forget, Emily put her head on my shoulder, and I pulled the trigger, and he just kind of stood there for a minute, and then he jogged off. And he jogged kind of angling toward us.
Mm-hmm.
And I said, I missed. And so I'm ejecting the shell real slow, get it out so it don't hit the floor. And he stops right on the wood line. About the time I get the gun back up. Emily's put her head up. I said, be ready. And I squeezed off. Well, one step, he jumped. You can't even tell, you're shooting a toy cannon. Mm-hmm. I don't know if he's hit. I don't know if he jumped, flinched. Mm-hmm. I don't know. And so all I can do is go the negative. Oh, I missed that deer. I missed that deer. Yep. And Emily's patting me on the leg. She's like, Daddy, it's okay. We just enjoy being out here. I said, no, you don't get it. And so she's talking me off the ledge. And so we sit there about 30 minutes. And it's starting to get dusky dark. We get down. We walk down. I'm like, I missed it. I'm just beating myself up. And she says, Daddy, is this blood? Emily, and I always say it's me and her deer because she was with me. Her head was on my shoulder looking right down the scope.
She first saw it.
She was the first one to see it. She found the blood. We start going in trying to track the blood and kind of making circles looking because it's getting dark. Mm-hmm. And she said, Daddy, what's that? And it was in the briars, and his horns were up above the briars. I'm like, oh, my gosh. And
that's when the work began.
But, yeah, and that's probably penultimate.
All right, so we talked about our best and worst encounters in the woods, and just best and worst stories. But I think now, I know he's got a really
we're gonna move on to scariest, which I don't really have super scary stories. A bunch of people have this paranormal type stories and everything, which I'm sure I will eventually. But
not paranormal.
Well, you think it is, but the scariest thing to me is I was walking in pitch black, dark, walking in, and a big covey of quail jumped up probably 10 feet from me, scared the
about the time you think you're grown and you're not afraid of the dark anymore.
It'll have
you'll jump a turkey off a roost or a covey of quail.
But just it takes some being brave sometimes. Just because you
especially when you hunt around like where bear are or
up north,
wild hogs.
But so What's yours?
My scariest, and it turned out to be the funniest.
Yeah, it did end up being funny.
I really hope we can play that footage sometime. But it had to be when the Wolf story.
Oh gosh, yeah,
it had to be because
that was bad.
It was opening day of gun.
Yep.
And Ethan had warned me.
Yeah, because he was gonna go sit in this.
I saw all both.
Yeah, he was gonna go sit in this this
redneck line.
Like a
shooting house.
Shooting house, yeah. And it hadn't been hunting in probably a year.
Oh, a year.
Probably longer than that. And we had seen wasp nests on the outside, so I was like, I told him the night before, I was like, I wouldn't do it. I wouldn't try it. I wouldn't chance it, especially if you don't have no wasp spray or anything.
Why I didn't think there would be wasp inside, I don't really know.
Yeah.
But so I'm sitting there, and I walk in, and I was like, man, I'm good. There's 3 chairs in there, and 30 minutes goes by, and I look up in the corner, and there's a wasp. Mm-hmm. I'm like, well, okay, man, you don't mess with me, I won't mess with you. Mm-hmm. Simple. You'll live, I'll live. We'll be fine. And something urged me. It was like a feel, like a God-given feeling to look. And I looked to my right.
Probably crawling on you.
And give you chills, man.
To my right, up under that one of those chairs, not lying, was a small football, softball size
nest
with probably 75 to 100 wasp on it. I'm not exaggerating. Easily. I mean, it was loaded. And I immediately freaked out. I texted Ethan. Wondering why Ethan was going to save me or something.
Yeah, I don't know
Superman
what I was
about
to
come.
I was sitting in the stand by myself.
I said, Ethan, what do I do?
I said, Hayden, get out of there as
so
fast as you can.
I grab what I think I need, or grab everything I can think of when I get out.
Oh, you had everything.
And I look back in there, my gun's still in there. So I'm like, okay, well, maybe I can just grab it. So I go up the steps to get up there, and I'm head level with where I was sitting.
Mm-hmm.
And the seat I was sitting in, I kid you not, probably 3 inches away from my thigh.
Oh, it was like the size of a plate.
It was twice as big as the other one.
Yeah.
With probably 120 something.
It was probably 150 something. It was loaded.
Oh my goodness. I just the thought that they were, how would I not get stung? It's insane. It really is.
It's crazy. And that actually turned out to be a really funny story, which we'll probably talk about in the next podcast when we talk about our funniest hunting stories. And we'll throw up some clips from y'all. So y'all can see, because
it turned out being hilarious.
Turned out being funny, but yeah, that's scary. That's scary, man. I'm glad I didn't have to go through that. But so moving on.
Mine didn't turn out so funny, but it was kind of life forming. Just started in ministry, and me and my buddy, we would take first week of deer season off vacation, which is always worth it. But it was on Monday. We'd hunted Saturday, went to church on Sunday. Monday morning, we went back to our stands. When we got done, we found this logging road that we felt like would go in at a better place. And so we started down through there, big jacked up 4-wheel drive, 71 Chevrolet, 38,
old country boy truck.
I mean, the real deal. And so we get down, and there's some really deep ruts. I'm talking about 4 or 5 foot washouts. So I stopped my truck, and me and my buddy get out, and we're going to walk and just look at it and see if we can maneuver through them.
Yeah.
And get about 30 yards from the truck, and we look up, and there's this old man walking up through there. No gun. He's got on a pair of overalls and a flannel shirt, sunbuttoned, and, I thought I heard banjos,
like
yeah, I mean, filmed hour from there. But he said, hey, my truck's stuck. Could you pull me out? And I looked over at my buddy, and we're like, what do we do? I mean, we're 20 years old in the middle of nowhere. There was no cell phones.
No.
And so I said, yeah, I'll pull you out. And so I walked back up to the truck. My buddy stood there with him, and I leaned down around the passenger side, locked the hub, and I heard this sound I'd never heard before. And I looked around my truck.
No, you said it sounded like snoring or something, like gargling.
Well, the old man had sat down kind of on his heels like a catcher, and he just leaned back. My buddy's over him, shaking him, saying, hey, are you all right? And it sounded just like he's snoring. He's just sucking air in. Well, I thought he was choking or something. He had a piece of straw in his mouth. And so my first inclination was clear his airway. I mean, I run my finger down his throat. And
you started doing CPR?
I started trying to do CPR. And he did that snoring sound again the second time when he exhaled.
Nothing else.
That was it. He quit breathing. I mean,
he had a heart attack.
He had a massive heart attack. I mean, we didn't know what to do. I looked at my buddy. He said, "Well, I'm not staying with him." And I'm like, "What if dogs drag him?" Everything.
Well, imagine if he was out there by himself, and how long it would have taken for somebody to find him.
And there's this one little convenience store for like 20 miles, and so we went up there and called the police and told them what had happened. Well, they send detectives out there. On the way out there, their car overheated and radiator hose burst, so they had to wait even longer. Then the game warden had to come to take them down in where we were at, and turned out I knew some distant family members, and they got in contact with me and said, "Hey, his widow would like for you to come meet her and take her down there." And so I took her down there. Turns out that he was deer hunting. The detectives walked down, found his truck, his shotgun was in there. This man and his brother-in-law were two guys in Paulding County, Georgia, that were the original two guys that drove from Paulding County, Georgia, to Wisconsin and bought 11 Wisconsin deer.
Really?
And they were, when Georgia started repopulating the deer with the Wisconsin deer, they went up there, and he killed the first legally tagged deer in Paulding County.
That's cool.
Wow. From that restocking.
Yeah, that's crazy.
Just what, I've used it as an example through my life. You never know what's going to happen.
Yeah.
Never know what a day's going to hold. And, I thought, what could I have done differently? And his widow really made me feel better. Said he had congestive heart failure, and it told her the night before, said, I don't know how much longer I'm going to live. I'm going to go hunting in the morning. And she said that when he left that she couldn't go back to sleep. And she said it was as if angels had came into her room and said, everything's going to be all right. And she didn't even know what was going on.
Yeah, that's crazy.
So,
Well, it was scary, but then it turned out to be kind of an eye-opening and cool experience.
Yeah.
But I mean, that's crazy. But that's about going to wrap it up. But we decided that we wanted to add a segment at the end of every podcast, and each one of us is going to give a verse at different podcasts.
Take turns.
Yeah, take turns giving a Bible verse that we like and stuff that we apply in our lives. And so this week it's going to be Dad,
because we do want to make this podcast and give.
Oh yeah, and God's our priority over
hunting. A Christian podcast.
Yeah, it's a Christian hunting podcast. So you got to put the Bible in it, man, and it's part of our lives. So we want to add it into whatever we're making. So, what verse you got for us this week?
Well, biggest thing, I sit around and talk with y'all, and tell you don't call turkeys too much, or don't get too close, or how to do certain things with deer, stuff that somebody taught me.
No.
Well, the greatest thing that I was ever taught was the love of Christ and what he did on the cross for me. Knowing that man that died on me knew the Lord. Hearing his testimony from his wife and then to his children. My verse is a verse that will change your life. And that's from Romans. He said, the wages of sin is death.
Mm-hmm.
That old man died because of the same reason we're going to die. Sin. Sin entered in through Adam into all mankind. We're all born. You don't become a sinner when you sin. You sin because you're a sinner.
Yeah. You're born
and just like we talked about with the hunting trips, you can do everything right and it still go wrong.
Yeah.
You can't be good enough to get to heaven. If so, then Jesus wouldn't have died.
But
he said the wages of sin is death. We all deserve it.
Good thing there's a but in there.
But the gift of God is eternal life through Jesus Christ our Lord.
Yep.
I can give y'all the best advice I can give you. I can show you the best ways to hunt that I know. I can give guns or ammo or things like that. But the greatest thing I can give y'all is a testimony of what God's done in my life. Well, when God looked down on all of us, he gave us the greatest gift. That's his son. So that's my verse today. We all deserve death. But Jesus Christ died that if we repent of our sins, confess him, you can't just, fill out a card and say, I'm a Christian hunter, but never honor him, don't worship him. When Jesus enters your life, things change. And so we've got to honor that gift that he's given us. Just like the animals, we honor the kill. We do our dead level best to find if we've shot something. We try to be as ethical as we possibly can. Same thing, the gift that God's given us in Jesus Christ, we ought to do it in everything in our lives.
That's great stuff, man. And
there's a lot of good people out there.
But not all good people go to heaven.
You can't be good enough, like you said.
Yeah, you can't be good enough to go to heaven. But that's gonna about wrap it up. I hope y'all got something. Hope y'all learned something. Southern Classics, we're out.